All right. Good day, everyone. My name is Israel, and I'm the founder and team lead at Teens and Youth in Leadership, that's TYIL. And we basically are in the business of raising young leaders. And this program was actually organized to help those in the TYL community to understand what it is to you know build a robust career, and also um, things you need to prepare for the requirements needed to build a career. Um, and I have here with us a friend who I consider to be very successful in his endeavor, Olutoye Olosunde, and he's going to be sharing from his experience and um, his perspective about what he thinks that would help us in planning ahead of the future world of work um, demands, and also what what has helped him from undergraduates to his present position. So you're very welcome, Toye. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Israel. It's great to be here as well. Good evening, everyone that has joined early. I hope that we'll be able to, benefit from my own personal story that I am going to be sharing here with everyone. So, once again, it's good to be here. I look forward to a very impactful session. Good evening once again.
Thank you very much, Toye. We are honored to have you. So let's just go straight into the business of the day. All right. So Toye, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I would have done this on your behalf, but then I think it's just going to be, it's going to make the story sweeter if you do it all by yourself. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Israel. Um, my name is Oluwatoye Oloshunde. Uh, what do I do? I'm a financial consultant. I help to provide bespoke financial solutions to various kinds of organizations, especially those that are in the financial services space. Of course, we all know what financial services space is: banking, insurance, pensions, various kind of funds. Yes. So I currently work in that sector. Um, I'm an accounting graduate. Currently taking my MBA as well. Um, Aside other professional exams that here and there, once in a while, you get enrolled in. Um, as well as addition to that, I on the side when I'm not doing anything financial consulting related, when I am just being myself, I play the piano. I'm a piano player. I like to take photographs. Sometimes I go to the gym, even though sometimes I really don't look it. But yeah, sometimes I go to the gym. Yes, those are things I really do in my pastime. But yes, today we're talking about career. So at my career trajectory, I think for an introduction, it suffices to say that I'm a financial consultant helping organizations achieve their financial objective, and that a never struck. So that it is for me. Um, I don't know if there are any specific questions, but yes, give me a minute. Let me fix my light. Okay, so I'm back. Um, please confirm that you can see me, Israel, and everyone. Not
Yeah,
sure I
I
can
can
hear
see you very clearly. Welcome.
you. Okay, great.
All right. So thank you for that introduction. So I was going to add that I have observed that many successful people love music. So I also I'm considering building, my passion along that line.
Very, very important. It helps to keep the mind sane, you know,
Yeah.
it's like an opium, you know. So,
Mhm.
but yes, music is really great.
All right. So, could you tell us how you got to, just tell us a bit, not a little bit, just run us through the story of how you got to your present, you know, um, job role and the journey so far from undergrad.
Okay, so my journey so far from undergraduate has exactly not been linear. I like to put it that out that it has never been linear. It involved making a lot of very difficult decisions, making them at top speed because of course time is really the essence of life. Make the difficult decisions and then make them as quick as possible. Um, some people, very successful people, say that they have been really lucky. Some will say that they have found a lot of favors along the way, along the journey. Um, some of us will say that they found grace. Whichever you'd like to describe it with. I think I have found the combination of all three. You know, along my path, I've had people who had to speak up for me. I've had people who had to, standing for me when it was really difficult to do so. But yes, I graduated not quite so long. Uh, as a very bright accounting student. But of course, you find out that when you leave the four walls of the university, you are open to an entire different reality in life. And the reality is different. Okay, so right immediately after undergrad, I know I had this job. I think it was quite immediately after my service year. I had this banking job. I really, I don't think I actually even stayed at home 1 minute. I really don't think. I can't remember staying at home 1 minute. And it was paying me like, what was it pay? It was paying me like 60 something thousand. And so my friends would call me and like, wow, Toye, you are hot cake, you're a big boy, you didn't stay home, you are right there in the sector that matters. And I was like, wow, really? I think I'm proud of doing something for myself. And then down the line, for the following weeks, I begin to hear success stories of my other friends, you know, in in bigger organizations. And when you hear their take home, it really dwarfed mine. And then it meant that I had to sit and I reconsider what success was for me at that point in life. Because at that point, because of the accolades I was getting, all of the praises that man, you didn't even see home 1 week after service. You had secured a job before service year ended already in the banking sector. I felt fly. I felt like I was the hottest dude in town after sliced bread. But yes, the truth is that you do not define success in isolation. Success is never defined in isolation. But of course, you really need to be clear on what success meant to you. To me, at that time, success was at least not being unemployed. Success was having, you know, uh, an employment at that point in time. But then I began to reevaluate to say that what was next for me at this point? What what did I need to do at this point? So I resigned my employment and I moved down to Lagos. I moved down to Lagos here. It was a very difficult decision, quite honestly, because it did mean that I was going to stay unemployed for a couple of months. It meant that I had to stay, you know, uh, go back to the drawing board. It meant that I had to start reevaluating my options. For an unemployed man, if you give him a job of 10K, he would almost say no. But I was faced with those difficult situations. In fact, at some point, my aunt went to a store and saw an advert for someone was a cashier. Like, instead of you staying home, wouldn't you rather just take that job? So it was a combination. It was a period of very difficult decisions for me. How did I navigate? That period. How did I stay sane that period? Israel mentioned one music. Stayed there. Music. There was a public library. I would typically just go read resources just to keep my mind sharp because of course one thing about the mind that for every day you keep learning, for every day you miss learning, the mind regresses. It loses that sharpness, it loses that fitness. So I'd always go to a public library, I'll go to read just to keep sharp. And while I was also evaluating my options, eventually I launched into the world of investment banking. I joined the top investment bank somewhere in Ikoyi. I was like, okay, well, I might not be there yet, but I'm not, I'm no more where I used to be. I'm no more in that unemployment hole I found myself. Now, what was the lesson I learned there? What was the lesson I learned in that 3 months of being unemployed? Because I was unemployed for 3 full months. It meant that I learned that at some times or some point we really need to understand the power of ambition. That thing, that thing that we used to be taught when we were in secondary school, ambition. What's your ambition in life? What's your ambition in life? It's not necessarily about what we want to be or where we see ourselves in the next 10 years. Not essentially where we see ourselves in the next 15 years. It could be, where do you see yourself this evening, the next morning, the next afternoon? Where do you exactly see yourself? I maintain a very, very healthy and strong, very infectious ambition. It meant that, I stayed resolute because, of course, I always wanted to become a finance guy, a finance professional. So I had other options I probably would have, taken at that point, but I didn't think that was what success meant to me. So I stayed ambitious that, no matter what it took, I would continue to, give it everything it needed or whatever was required to land myself a role in the finance industry. So I stayed ambitious. But every time I have this conversation of ambition with people, I find out that it's like a two-edged sword. It is like a two-edged sword. One part of that sword, is that ambition keeps you wanting more. It keeps you wanting more. That, okay, this is where I'm at a point X today. Can I get to a location Y tomorrow? It keeps you wanting more. And so, it means that at every point in time or at every other time, you are at a better position than you were yesterday. That is the good side to ambition. The bad side to ambition is that, oh well, because you are ambitious, because you are a very ambitious person, it means that you may never ever be where you want to be because you always keep wanting more. That's the only twisted cycle. Because you always keep wanting more, it means that you would not always be where you want to be. But yes, I kept wanting more. I stayed ambitious, and so my stint at the investment bank was quite successful. It was through the graduate program. I scored some, I made some, impact that I look back today and I see like, wow, great. I was glad that I took up some of the responsibilities I took up. It was short-lived, but yes, I'm great. Following that, I then into consulting, full-time consulting. I was working in the big four, the big four guys. They call you the big four guys. You feel like you landed, but I think that period was probably the most consequential, or till today is the most consequential period of my career. It redefined and reshaped me a lot. Today, when I see young people or young professionals, when I see them, in the job market and asking questions, I say, whenever they come to me, I say, hey, bro, I have these two offers. I have one here, I have another one here. This one pays more a bit than the other. Well, and then you ask them, what's the differential? What's the variance? What variance are you looking at? They say, well, this one pays like a 10K, a 10,000 difference monthly. And now 10,000, let me be specific, like Naira. Got 10,000 USD. That would really be significant. So 10,000 Naira monthly. Some of the things I typically ask them, I say, is that, okay, at this point of your career, what matters more to you? Is it that 10K differential that matters more to you? Or the value that you get from being in that role? What is that value? What is that value? What is that value I'm talking about? So let me put it this way. Let me be more practical. So imagine that I had an offer from a consulting firm, a big four consulting firm that would pay me 10,000 naira every month. And I had an offer from maybe just one downstream, firm, a firm in the downstream sector that will pay me, say, 12,000 naira every month. That's a differential of 2,000 naira. And this is me trying to put numbers so that everybody can understand, my perspective to it. At that point in my career, very early stage of my career. So I've then asked myself, aside the monetary value, the quantitative differential I can pin, what other things would I get from taking either of these jobs? Would I learn better? Would I increase my knowledge base better or far ahead in that consulting firm than I would do in that downstream firm? If the answer is yes, that is in favor. Would I better increase my network in that downstream firm better than I would do in the what's it called in a consulting firm? If the answer is no, that's another in favor of the consulting firm. So a number of times, I think young people very early in their career make, very, very serious mistakes. Settling for offers on the basis of monetary differential or differences in pay. Okay, this place pays more. And I speak from a vantage point of, having had to turn down even more expensive offers early on in my career. And when I say more expensive offer, it was not like the differential was really significant. It was just like very different. Very minute difference. That difference in monetary value was not enough, would not have been enough to invest in my knowledge acquisition. Don't get me wrong. I don't say don't go. I'm not saying you shouldn't go for more expensive offer. It's fine. But if there are other qualities that that more expensive offer cannot afford you, even with the money differential, I'm of the opinion that you go for that offer that affords you, a wider variety of options. So early on in my career, I recognized that. I joined a big four consulting firm, you know, increased my network vastly. My knowledge, man, my knowledge was operating on 110 over 100. I was just up there. Knowledge wise, I was accumulating as much knowledge as possible. I was working between different units. I was doing a lot of things, and well, luckily for me, yeah, I bagged some accolades to my name, and it was a period where I really tested my ability to handle very tough tasks. The pay probably was not so commensurate. It was not exactly commensurate with what we did there, but the quality of those jobs, when I look back today, I'm like, oh, really? I did this. So it gives me that pride to, have chosen that path, what I did, as against other paths. Now, let me put perspective to this. Some other people that I saw take the other path, that path I said I wasn't going to take. Today I look back, and when we have conversations, and they tell me that Orem, I'm like, Orem, where is that coming from? It is because I earlier took the difficult decision to go into consulting that was paying me a bit less, but was offering me value, like more value that the money they were earning would probably not be able to buy. It was offering me a bit more than they were getting. And today, I'm able to commercialize that value. I'm able to use that value in my negotiations for job offers. I'm able to use that value in the delivery of my job roles, my JD. So those were some very difficult decisions I had to make along the way. But yes, I joined the consulting firm, and I remember also that when I joined, I told myself I had a mental picture in my head that okay, having understood the value of that job, I said, well, the value of my consulting job is not just in the money they're paying me. And I tell people a lot, see, the money our employers pay us, really, I do not think is enough to, to reward the kind of job, the kind of risk, waking up every morning to, be at a job, poses at us every day. It's just something to put food on our table. It's very ephemeral. Beyond that, look at other values you can take away from that job. So I understood that the value of that my job then, in the consulting firm was not just in the pay. It was in the knowledge I was acquiring. It was as well in the quality of the jobs I can get after them. Now, let me put coloration to that. You work in certain places that by the virtue of the fact that you have worked there, the moment it appears on your CV, it has a lot of respect. Not nuance, but I mean, a lot of respect to that CV. The fact that you have actually worked because you have that experience. Because imagine that you spent 5 years in those kind of places, and then you present your CV somewhere. Even before the person asks you a question, before you utter a word, the person already has in his subconscious that, man, well, ordinary, on paper, I expect the wealth of value that this person possesses, the wealth of experience, the quality of his experience, to be far above the average. And so those were the kind of decisions I had to make then. So the value, sometimes I tell people, don't just look at the pay. The real value of a job is beside the very ephemeral pay that most people will leave hand to mouth. Not exactly the pay. Look at the value it adds. That's one. Look at the quality of the jobs it can get you after then. Look, what quality of jobs will you be able to get after that because of the quality of experience you must have had there. So from there, I already knew that by so mileage, when I got to, at a particular point in time, if I told myself the quarter that by this time, so year, I want to leave this job and move somewhere. I had it in my mind already. I had it I had this mental picture about 3 years ago, and everybody that cared to know, I very close. I already told them, I see, listen, by so mileage, when I attain this mileage, I would leave this job and move somewhere else. And believe you me, when I achieved that mileage, the moment I achieved it, trust me, in 2 months, I landed another offer. Very seamless. Someone just said, okay, you have a CV, bring your CV. I sent my CV. In 2 weeks, they're like, okay, we're actually recruiting for a unit head or team lead role. Will you be interested? I said, okay, I'll be interested. I interviewed with the panel, I interviewed with the CFO, I interviewed with the CEO. Very seamless. And you know what? They were like, can you resume immediately? I said, resume? I have a 3 month. I have a 3 month. I have a 3 month default notice. They said, forget it. We will pay the default notice. I said, oh, really? And then that was how I moved from consulting and moved out of consulting into the industry, back into banking. So, what lesson did I learn from that move? It is always essential that when you have a job or when you are scouting for a job, when you're in the job market, I tell people to have an exit strategy in their head. Have an exit strategy. Okay, I have a friend with whom I have worked in Codros, that's an investment bank, and I also worked with him. And my last place of work, he currently is moving to IFC. He will be leaving. He has resumed anyways. He's still in Nigeria, but he'll be leaving for the Washington office by Wednesday. I was interacting with him this week, yes, early this week. I was asking, okay, what are your plans? Do you think you want to come back to Nigeria? And I was like, okay, no, it's not going to come back. But you see, in 2 years' time, he wants to go and pursue his MBA in a top Ivy League school. That for him was his exit strategy. You see, I see a lot of people were like, let me just get a job. You just get a job. You do not even know where the job is headed. They don't even know where the career path is headed. They're just, okay, we're just going with the flow. So those kind of people, it is difficult to understand when to pull out. They don't understand when they want to pull out. They don't understand when they want to make that next big move. In fact, the opportunity might be staring at them in the face. That, okay, see, I am an opportunity. Just take me by the scruff of my neck. It's there. But because they don't have an exit strategy, they don't understand when it is that moment for them to move. And then they're just caught, held tight in that hole. Wake up every morning, do the same thing, do the same routine, and they are not finding success in what they do. So that was a very big lesson I learned, understanding your exit strategy. So I think I've been able to put correlation to some of the things that really have helped me this past couple of years. First, understanding the value of your job, then knowing when next to seek the next big opportunity that is out there in the market. Over to you, Israel.
All right. Thank you so much for that exposition. Okay, so let me just highlight some of the points you have mentioned so far. Then I'll go to a few questions I have here. The first point you mentioned is you do not define success in isolation. Then you said that For every day you quit learning, the mind retrospects. And you said ambition keeps you wanting more. Ambition is not something ambition is something you work towards every day. You then mentioned about value, the power of value, not focusing on the quantity, monetary difference, and focusing on the value you would gain in your chosen career path. Then you also focused on do not settle. Okay, you mentioned that we shouldn't settle for offers on the basis of monetary differentials, like I mentioned earlier, and exit strategy, having an exit strategy. All right, so I want to take you back a little bit to when you were an undergrad, and I want you to please answer these questions because we have majority of our participants today are undergrad. So I want to ask you for an undergrad student who is trying to, discover his path. What advice would you give such person? I understand that what you study in school could actually change while you're pursuing a career. So, what advice would you give such person? And how would you advise the person to prepare for opportunities out there during during the undergraduate degree and, post undergraduate degree?
All right, thank you, Israel. I am not a motivational speaker, so at the risk of sounding as like one, I like to be very practical in my approach because sometimes really no one size fits all answer will do. Sometimes really no one size fits all answer will do. But for me, finding my career path was probably not really a difficult one. Was not really a difficult one. So, okay, let me take you back to when I was a secondary school student. If I don't know if if there are so many people that can relate on this call, but there were times where when you are in JSS3 and you're trying to move into SS1, your school management will say, the most brilliant students go to science class automatically. The less brilliant ones go to commercial class. Then the least brilliant of them all, they dump them. Art class was a dumping ground for the least brilliant students. I mean, that was a culture. It was a non-written rule. To people finding their career path. So they just assume that the moment I'm brilliant, man, I should be in science class. And that is their career path. They start. But then, very early on, I asked myself certain questions. So does that mean that, for instance, the people that become Minister of Finance, or say our CBN governor, for instance, are they less brilliant than the people that are in science class? Is that what it means? Does it mean that we entrust our economy to people that are less brilliant? Let us assume that we don't have people that cross from engineering into finance, that everybody just continue on that linear path. If you're in science class, you go do something science related. If you're in commercial class, you go do something finance related. If you're in art class, you go do something art related. The answer was no. Did it also mean that people that were in art class that we considered as least brilliant on paper or in the class, it didn't mean that the people that were in charge of our, say, Nollywood, our models, are very artistic guys, the guys in the Afrobeat industry, didn't mean that we're least brilliant. The answer was no. So it means that you can be in a space and do so well for yourself. You can be in practically any space in the current world dynamic and do so well for yourself. So finding your career path, really, I'm sure that most people, for most of us, what we are currently studying is an offshoot or is an outcome of probably the class we were when we were in school. And I was in science class. Okay, let me go and study medicine, go study nursing. I was in commercial class, studying economics, studying accounting. I was in art class. It's probably an offshoot. But you find out that these days you have medical doctors in banks, you have lawyers in insurance firms. You see that there are theater practitioners, theater practitioners. You see them now in in financial institutions, things they didn't think they would be doing. But then I tell people to maintain a mental picture of where they see themselves in the future. Now, It's not just by writing. So it is good. Even in making reference to the holy book, it say put it down in writing. But this time around, not just in writing, because not every time you have that pen and paper with you. Have a mental picture of where you see yourself 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, making impact. From my childhood days, I used to tell myself I wanted to be a banker because my dad was a banker. So I did used to see myself growing up, always in suit and tie, in the bank, making a lot of money, helping deficit and surplus, quarters, intermediating. I saw myself doing that right from time. My dad was a banker all his life. So I saw myself doing that. And I saw myself in that space that, okay, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from here, I would. Now, that for me was what, a career path was. I designed my career path in that, line. I aligned my career path. For some other people, maybe being a medical doctor, maybe being a a lawyer. And in modern days now, we have even very, very classy job roles. Yeah, I'm an influencer. Your figures are really good. But you see, finding a career path is as well akin to finding your purpose in life. Finding your career path is so much akin to finding your career purpose in life, right? What is that thing you really want to be known for? What is that thing you see yourself doing? What is that thing where you best believe you'll be creating impact? Sometimes that realization happens to us it just comes to us. It's not like, okay, I sat down and premeditated. No, it just happens. Okay, something happened. And I think this is the career path I want to pursue. But you just have to be very, very, very kept attuned. Like, okay, always watch out to say, okay, where do I think I see myself? Because the truth is that sometimes when I was young, I think at some point I thought I would also be maybe a lawyer, because some people were like, oh, you know how to make very fantastic arguments, you know how to make, put words together, bamboozle, go be a lawyer. At some point, that was going to imprint on me. But I can tell you that the most compelling vision I saw for myself was being in the finance space, either being a banker or being a financial consultant or something. That was the most compelling. So even when people tell me that probably I should be in the media space, or something, I just feel like, okay, that is really not my thing. It's really not my, I may have qualities that seem like, but it's really not my thing. So finding your career path is very much akin to what your purpose. Finding when you discover what it is that you are supposed to be doing, you probably would have found your career path. You probably would have found it. So if your purpose in life was to provide solutions, like providing solutions, what kind of solution? Maybe technical solutions. If your purpose in life is to probably helping the needy, if your purpose in life was probably educating people in the most remote areas of the world, design your career path in that line, and you probably would have hit a jackpot. So there's no one size fits all to some people that look up, they just dreamed that they were this, and then that became their career objective, So I think I would have been able to answer that question and then finding a career path. Sorry, Israel, you can mute if you're speaking.
Apologies. Thank you very much. So I asked again that how would you advise a student, an undergrad, to prepare for, having discovered this career path? How would you advise such person to prepare to better position himself? And I want you to touch a little bit about your perspective on internship.
Okay, so on discovering or preparing for the work, the future of work, or the reality of work as an undergraduate, I tell very young people from time is to, first of all, as a student, not all students really want to pursue something really career, like really career. Some people just want to, okay, just get to something, do. But if you really want to build a career niche for yourself, you want to build a career name for yourself. One of the things that helped me was seeking out opportunities to, deliver value, to help. Now, let me put it in perspective. In my final year, because I was so anxious, I was so ambitious that, okay, what would I actually even become? Like, okay, yes, I'm a brilliant guy in school. Yes, they say I'm actually brilliant, but I was so scared of actually failing. In the real world, I was really scared of failing in the real world. Okay, if after school, these lofty heights that people had about me, okay, you're first class, you have a first class brain, you have first class grades, but if they don't mirror, my reality when I leave the four walls of the university system, that will be my fate. So one of the things I did then was I met my HOD. I said, HOD, sir, is there anything I can be doing for you? Like, okay, I just be doing for you secretarial or something. And I can tell you that the first job offer that I ever got, like that was in writing, that there was a proper job letter, a JD, was from my HOD. He had a consulting firm by the side. It was a side gig. That was a side chick, I like to put it that way. And before I knew it, he employed me as what's it called? As a junior accountant, a graduate audit training. And I was working for him. He was paying me 20,000 naira a month. It was just very little. And I worked for him. I worked for 1 year. I started that job even before I graduated school. I worked until I went for service. So that it spanned like 1 year plus. Now, even though I didn't think that my actions were consequential when I took that internship, let me now tell you the value of that role I took then. For my current job, when I was interviewing for my current job, and they looked at my CV and they were like, okay, well, we understand that you have like a 3 years of experience somewhere. Yes, you have 3 years of experience somewhere, which is relevant. But that's not enough. In my argument, I said, no, it can't be 3 years. Look at that year of internship that I had, also as an auditor somewhere, even though it was in a smaller organization. And then my interview was like, okay, that's true. There was 1 year that my first ever job there. I said, add it. By the time you had it, you find out that I probably am closer to meeting the requirements for this job role. And when everything was said and done, from that interview, I already knew I had a job. Like from that interview, I knew that I had a job. And internship's good. Very, very good. I have no doubt that internships, if right with the right disposition, with the right etiquette, internships are fantastic opportunities to learn what the corporate world would look like. So I told you that my own internship, I signed my first employment contract. I understood what it first meant to work in a in the corporate world. That was the first time I started hearing about Big Four. I didn't even know. I was an undergraduate. I never knew about anything. I never knew about PwC. I never knew about EY. I never knew about Deloitte. I never knew about KPMG. I never knew any of them. Even at some point in my undergraduate, somebody wrote to me and said, "See, there's an opportunity in McKinsey." I'm like, "Okay, what is McKinsey?" I was in my final year. I was just, but I'm like, "Okay, what's McKinsey?" And I thought that was well read. Like I knew I had everything figured out. I was like, "Okay, what's McKinsey? What did they do?" I didn't understand. Do you get? But when I went into internship, I began to understand the workings of the corporate world. And I tell you that it was that experience that armed me for some of the things I would later go on to do, for some of the opportunities I would later go on to take. Internships are very essential. 8 months, you're on 8 month strike, try internship. You have a 2 month window, try internship. They're very essential. Maybe if you're as well not sure of what your career path is actually as an undergraduate, you might as well want to try internship. Okay, for instance, I'm not sure whether I should do law. I'm not sure whether I should, okay, so maybe I'm even a lawyer. I'm in my law school or something. I'm at the law and I'm not sure whether I should go on to become a barrister or I should go become a solicitor somewhere. I should be on the bench. I should be outside of the bench or behind the bench, or maybe I should even go into entertainment. Why not just go and intern in an organization that does entertainment, that is into solicitor and the likes? By the time you intern, by the time you have a real feel of what it looks like, and I say, okay, maybe this actually will work for me. Maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. So internships allow you for try and error. Quite honestly, you could, use internships to try and error. Okay, working here, what's the experience? What's the feel like? But the truth is that internships are very essential. It forms part of your cognizant working experience, and it introduces you to the real world. So if you're an undergraduate, you never interned, you never had your I'm not sure what they call it now, CWES, but if that is still what it is, I think you should actually try, because it opens your eyes to the very possibilities that you would find when you eventually enter into the corporate world. Over to you, Oster. I've been answering your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toye. That was really relevant to our theme for this discussion. So I wanted to also wanted to add that looking for a place for internship demands that you go outside. So just take those steps fearlessly and understand that whether it comes out well or not, you are doing something relevant to your future and relevant to your career. So I think I have one or two questions left, and I would like to inform everyone that this session, we are looking at ending the session in another 15 minutes. So if you have questions, you could please raise your hand, then the mic will be on mute for you, unmuted for you. So the question I want to ask Toye is this: for people who are fresh graduates and are experiencing, that gap, the career gap, where you don't have a job, you're trying your best to get this job, and I think you mentioned that you spent 3 months staying at home. What would you advise them? What do you think they should do during that period to prepare themselves? And please understand that 3 months sometimes roll over to 1 year and 2 years. So what would you advise them to do during that period?
All right, so thank you very much, Israel. Very luckily for me, early on, I understood that success sometimes, or most times, is a game of numbers. Success is a game of numbers. It is a result of how many times you try. So let me put perspective to it. The person who discovered electricity, we hear it now and then. It's become a renowned that he tried 1,000 times and failed. It was only 1,001 time that they eventually discovered electricity. But let me tell you, that 1,001 was not exactly when he discovered electricity. It was every time he was trying, it was closer to the answer. Every damn time he was trying, it was closer to the answer. That is what I tell people who are in the job market: keep your funnels full. Your funnels, keep them full. When you see a funnel, you see that V shape it has. It's fuller up and then down. This is down right. It's tinier. Up fuller, down tinier. Because usually the opportunity that will hit the target, that target that will hit the opportunity, you don't know it. You really do not know it. So it means that you might have to try out a number of times before you actually find that one that will take you out of the job market. So if you're in a job space, I tell people, apply to as many places as possible. What I do is this, or what I did then was this. I looked at so many sectors. For me, I'm a finance person. It means that I can work in almost any sector. So I looked at every sector, say telecommunication, oil and gas, and this is a very practical approach: oil and gas, banking, investment banking, multinationals, multilaterals. I had about 10 sectors. I listed them. I then also listed the 10 players in those sectors, 10 of them. Do you understand? Where I can get 10, I'll list as many as possible. But the goal was to have 10 top players in each of these sectors. 10 top players in each of these sectors. And then those guys were my focus. I would send them cold mails. You don't know the power of cold mails. My last 2 jobs was cold mail. Was not someone just okay, take this thing, just send your CV. And I sent it. And then they came back in less than 1 week or 2 weeks. They're interviewing for your roles. And I got the job. Having cold mails, very powerful tool. Even when they're not applying, go to their website, check for it doesn't have to even be an HR, what's it called? HR email link. It could be for their customer service. Send them that CV. My job they had before now. The email I was even giving was for customer service. Customer service responded and I said, well, we received your email, but it's not within our jurisdiction. We have now, however, forwarded your CV to the HR, the right guys. They would communicate if need be. And in less than 2 weeks, following with the HR guys, I did actually communicate. So cold mails are very powerful tools. Send as many applications as possible. It's a game of numbers. Don't be tired. Most of the guys you see in UK top schools now, or UK that have moved to their abroad, that caught the jackpot syndrome, you see them. If you ask them their story, you tell someone will tell that, okay, I applied like 4 times, I applied like 3 times, I applied like 2 times. I'm sure Israel probably will be able to, put context and coloration to that as well. So be ready to give it that numbers. Sometimes it's not always time when you hit 3 once like that and it hits the jackpot. No, it's not always. That's one. Number 2, practice. Keep your mind sharp. Sometimes when I was really unemployed, I'll sit in front of my laptop, my camera, and then put on my video, be looking at myself. You understand? I'll just look at myself. I was like, very, very crazy. And they say crazy things sometimes require very crazy approach. Just look, I'll start put on my camera and then look into my laptop. I was rehearsing, responding to questions from interviewers. Okay, what should be the ideal response when you're asked, what is your name? Should I say, TYIL is my name? Or rather say, my name is TYIL? I want to see how it sounds. Like, okay, if I'm an interviewer and somebody say TYIL is my name, or my name is TYIL, which one would you applaud the most? So continue to practice. Very essential. Practicing, it helps you to stay fit. It helps you to keep your mind in shape. It helps to keep you sane. Then also find some things, the past time that could help you, because that period can be very depressing. I told you, it was a very depressing moment for me. Imagine for someone working in a bank, actually my hand went to a store and said, that store, they're looking for, what's it called? They're looking for cashier. Say, I will go and take the job. And okay, my uncle now said, I know you are really embarrassed, but she's my wife. Just even shall go and hear what he will say. And then I got there, and the man even said, what was I even putting on? I was putting on a shirt, like a shirt, long sleeve, putting on a trouser, putting on a walkabout. And the person say, bros, forget the English that they wrote here, that you're looking for cashier. Forget. The way I'm looking at you, this job is not your kind of job. It's like for people that are, salespersons. I no disrespect to them, anyways. It's for salespersons or something. So forget the English. I'm not looking for people like you. And I didn't even think I was properly dressed then, because then, of course, I lost. I spent my savings. I spent my savings, and I was not. When the person saw me, I was like, I don't think this kind of job is for you. So it could be a very depressing time. It was a very depressing time for me. So find things healthy to do. Reading. I was reading, go to public library, even though the books were old. It was a public library. But at least I started reading something, keeping my mind engaged, rather than just sleeping and then worrying over the problem, because worrying does not ever solve anything, quite honestly. Worrying solves nothing. So that is to people that, are unemployed and trying to get out of the employment, was that employment hole. I think that would help from my perspective.
Well, thank you so much, Toye. That was really helpful. Okay, so I have just one question left, but I want to let the house know that you can ask questions. All you need to do is to raise your hand. And if you're not willing to talk, you can actually send your questions to on the chat section. I also want you to know that this program was actually organized by Teens and Youth in Leadership, and I'm going to drop a phone number you can always access if you are not on the group or the TYIL group and you want to be. All right, so my final question would be this. Okay, so I used to consider you and a few friends of mine to be extremely intelligent and smart. And that's because from our conversations, you have never mentioned any time you failed an aptitude test. An aptitude test is usually some of the pain points for most applicants. So could you share how you actually prepared towards that? And for undergraduate students, I want you to know that there is hardly a job you will get without going through the aptitude test. And that is why I'm asking this question. Then secondly, it's two in one question. So the second question that looks more like it is it's about appearance and, looking the way you want to be addressed. This is a very salient point during interview sessions, and I believe that HR persons take it very important. So what would you advise people on appearance, when it comes to going for interview and or even poaching HR persons for a job role?
All right, so thank you very much, Israel. Preparing for the aptitude test for top organizations, top recruiting organizations these days, I think that they have very similar, pattern for aptitude tests. Say, okay, for instance, you do the GMAT style test, you do psychometric, you do the assessment center or the panel interviews, you do the management level interviews. It's about the same thing with just a bit of variety here and there that are unique to the organizations, but it's about the same thing. It's about the same thing. Now, I tell people, practice does not only make good, it makes perfect. I remember when I had my first job after NYC, and I said, this job, no. I said earlier I was earning about 60,000 a year thereabout, and my friends were already calling me, they were getting 190K jobs, 180K jobs. I'm like, okay. I said, okay, it was probably was time for me to move. It was time to make that move. I said I was going to make that move, but it was a very painful decision there. It was painful in the sense that because my job was not so high paying, I wanted to move from the east and move back to the west. I also did not have the luxury of time because I was working. Banking jobs can be very demanding. It means that sometimes I have to come from the east, night bus, and return back to the east, night buses as well. So I'll leave work at around 5:00. I'll leave work around 5:00 because I have an interview for tomorrow. I'll take permission from my boss to be absent for one day. I'll leave work 5:00 in the east, and then I'll join a night bus going to the west. Those are the only periods I had to practice. So by that 5:00 where I had gone, I'll be in the bus, I bring up my GMAT, I was solving. I'll continue to solve until maybe it was too dark or was too late. I could not see nothing again. Of course, when you're in these very big buses, it's really very dark. So I was always solving. I don't think there are better ways. Okay, let me put context as well. When people come to my house today, they usually see a whiteboard in my sitting room. It's littered with markers. And like, are you a teacher? I said, well, I found out that their learning can as well be very strategic, and very strategic with learning. Apart from just reading, if you want to increase your retention, your ability to deliver your retention abilities, sometimes I like to, because I understood early that from teaching people or from teaching an audience, you master your craft, you master that topic you are teaching. I got a board, then I'll stay in my sitting room. I'll then be solving. And then I have an imaginary class in my sitting room. Are you guys learning? Whether or not they respond, whether or not I'm solving. If you ask me that same question, if you ask me what I have, and what I taught my imaginary class 2 weeks from now, I still don't know because I taught them. That is learning by teaching. Understand that learning by teaching helps as well. So for people who are like, okay, I am reading, but I'm not assimilating, I'm not getting. I tell people, have you practiced other methods? Practice by maybe teaching, by watching videos, by practicing, reperformance. When you reperform, it sticks better. these are all the tricks. These are some of the tricks that it takes. Yeah, but I have a board in my house where I do imaginary teaching. I'll just, okay, guys, we're studying today. We're studying valuation of derivatives. What do you understand by derivatives? And in my head, they are responding, even though there's no class. So these are some of the tricks that you probably will have to adopt. Just find a mix of what works for you. That's what works for me. That's what works for me. Even as a CF, I'm currently a CFA student. My CFA adventure. These are some of the things that work for me. To find the mix of things that work for you. That is for aptitude test. For appearance, I tell you that if you do not appear very well, if you don't look good, I tell you that even your confidence will be evident. The days I don't look good, I tell myself, like the days I don't look good, my confidence it feels like my confidence knows that I'm not looking good at it and then disappears. So I find myself very timid. I'm very reserved on those days. If you ask me a question, I'm like, okay, because I don't look good. I usually tell people that within their mix, try to look good. You don't have to spend a fortune. Be well ironed. And let me give you an instance. When I went to interview for my investment banking job, because I'd crossed seven mountains and seven seas. So I was coming from the island, going to the mainland bus. I left from around 4 o'clock. I got 4 a.m. I got there around 8. It was just a really crazy ride. Then before God now did ride, and then we're jumping buses. It was a very busy morning. I got there and I was sweating. And then where I was sitting down, the HR saw that I was sweating. He now called, Nancy, come, please. Give me a perfume. I didn't have a perfume. I couldn't afford a perfume there. Give me a perfume. I said, spray this, because I see that you're sweating. When he said that I was sweaty and said, I have a feeling that you will be smelly. Oh God, my confidence was disappeared. It eroded. So I got into that place. I understood the questions, but because of the comment that somebody gave me that meant, I don't think, because you're sweaty, you're not looking fresh, you're not looking, glowing and glowing up and all that. Everything just disappeared. I'm like, okay, they were saying here, I was saying B. The only thing that God used to help me that day, we had a teamwork. There were other smart guys on my team. So they were going to choose maybe just 2 or 3 people out of a 10 of 10. So there were 2 guys that identified that they were the smartest. They were speaking, they were talking. I was like, okay, yes, exactly. That was the only thing I was saying. I was giving addendum, giving them a just. Okay, exactly. So you will think that, okay, this person also knows. But even though my confidence had left that day, that was how I was able to scale through that day. But, looking good, appearing good, smelling nice, you can never go wrong with that. Please, you never can go wrong with that. Invest in your looks, please. Thank you,
so much. Thank you so much, Toye. So we have 2 questions, and so Bumi is asking that she wants to clarify if online internship can be possible without meeting criteria, and do you know if there is anything like online internship?
Okay, so there are a lot. In fact, COVID introduced us to the possibilities of online opportunities. They are bound. They are countless. The opportunities that are online. I'm usually very glad. For most people that feel very frightened by by LinkedIn. I don't think I feel frightened by LinkedIn. Do you get? I don't know why people feel frightened, but because people share their success stories. Yes, it's something to keep you motivated. So even though I'm not really an active user, but I usually visit LinkedIn. Another thing that makes me visit LinkedIn is because typically I usually get poaching requests. Some people just check my profile and okay, this guy has experiences that we think can work. Recently I was interviewed for experience that require, for roles that require 15 plus years of experience. I didn't even have half of them. I'm like, okay, where do you guys want to see the remaining, the 7.5? You get? So, I tell people when I go on LinkedIn, I see a lot of success stories or testimonies about getting internships with, say, Bank of America, while they're still they're in Korodu, but they are interning with what's it called? Don't know disrespect to people that are saying in Korodu anyways, but I still don't think you live in Lagos. Anyways, that's another talk for another day. But yes, they get opportunities with, say, Bank of America, everything. They get opportunities with Goldman Sachs. There were a lot of internship opportunities in those days. It's just for you to find out the right information. Information can be scarce sometimes, but if you find it out, you get it. Sometimes you see them on Twitter, I randomly bump into them on Twitter. I randomly bump into them on LinkedIn. So go on LinkedIn, you see all those links. Probably can reach out if I find out, I'll share with you as well. But yes, you can do online internship. But my own internship was not online. because me, I did my internship in just there small. So then there was reading online. If it was online, I would have been damned because I really didn't have, money for data and all of that then. But yeah, it was brick and mortar in my time. But now a lot of things are moved online. Even some of the big fours, they were offering online internship opportunities to people. Just find information. Information is still on the internet. Internet is, man, that stuff is really great. But just find information. Yes, but you can.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so the final question is okay, what this person is asking that what can she do if she has or if he has issues with not completing a task or a path he embarked on. For example, if he enrolls for a graphic design course and after the course he finds it difficult to practice and become good at it. And then if he sees another class on digital marketing and he still feels like enrolling for it, please, what would you advise such person with this challenge?
Okay, so I try to paint an analogy in answering this question. Sometimes, if we're not careful, life will play very fast on us. We have to say, okay, life, let's move at my own momentum. I don't want to leave by default. I want my own momentum. So, say you have been doing graphic design and all of that, you spend years doing, but you don't think that is the right career path. That's what I understand. You don't feel like it's the right career path, and you want to move. You're not sure whether you should move because you don't think you will find success there. Oh well. Sometimes if you don't play around, so maybe you will not find out. Sometimes I don't say you should play around. Sometimes you don't play around, you probably not find out things. You will not find out. You will never know. But one thing I learned early, I made a mistake. I made a mistake with my choice of of role of this thing. Then I sat to myself. I was like, okay, should I just abandon this and then go start afresh somewhere else, or I should like find a way to make this work? Because no matter how I was trying to make that experience work, it was not just working. It was not jiving. And then I had a conversation with someone, and we reached a consensus. I was like, okay, if you have two ladders sitting, to a wall, and you know that a treasure is atop one of those ladders. You don't know which ladder it is, but it is atop one, whether a ladder A or ladder B. Let's assume that treasure is at the top of ladder B. But here you are on ladder A. You are strutted up, majestically, you go to the top of ladder A. And then you find that there's nothing there atop ladder A. Now, would you rather just stay there and wallow in regret that, wow, I wasted time, climbing this ladder? I mean, I probably should have climbed the other ladder. Knowing that you cannot jump from that ladder to another ladder, you can't jump. You would just, you probably just end it there. Or you strut down from that your ladder A and go start from a ladder B and start climbing. Because, it might be a very difficult decision, but I tell people sometimes you have to make that tough decision at the speed of light. At the speed of light, time is very essential. So if you have been climbing a ladder, you follow a career path, you don't think that is the way. You can see that there's no light at the beginning, at the middle, or at the end of the tunnel. It is all dark. You probably want to come down from that ladder. Go climb the ladder that is providing you more assurance. Given that you are ready to do what it takes. So that you don't waste time just climbing different ladders, test running, and you don't want to waste time because time is also essential. You want to, given that you give what it takes to make sure that also works for you. So, I don't think there's any point. I don't think it is worth wasting time on. That ladder is worth wasting time on. You probably want to join, go do something else. So if you think you do better at social media marketing or something, please, why not just move into social media? It might be a very painful transition, but yes, it will be worth it at the end.
All right, thank you so much, Toye, for that. I believe that we have learned so much from this session, and they are very practical, and we can always apply them to our plans and career goals, actually. So I want to inform us that after this session, we'll be uploading this session on our YouTube channel, so you can actually go back to watch it over and over until you understand, and you probably taking the recommended steps. Thank you so much, Toye, for your time. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming for this session. We really do appreciate you. And if you haven't saved this number, if you haven't saved the number sent to the chat section, please do so now and send us a message so we can, follow up on you. This session was extremely insightful. Thank you very much. Do we have any closing remark from you, Toye?
Thank you very much to the team behind the TYIL. I'm really proud of the successes you're recording, and thank you very much to every participant on the call. Yeah, I see some family faces. I see as well some very familiar faces. So thank you very much, guys. And I really wish to see you at the top of your chosen career paths. See you on success road.
Thank you very much, Toye. Thank you, everyone. So have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.